Today video session is economics lesson 2. The lesson name is globalization and trade. Okay, introduction. Liberalization, privatization and globalization, that is LPG, have become a much talked of topics among politicians, economists and businessmen in modern days. These three are the supporting pillars of new economic policy of our government since 1991. Okay, what is globalization? Globalization is the process of integrating various economics of the world without creating any barriers in the free flow of goods and services, technology, capital and even labor or human capital. Under globalization, the international markets for goods and services are integrated. Basically, globalization signifies a process of internationalization plus liberalization. History of globalization. The term globalization was introduced by Professor Theodor Levitt. The historical background of globalization can be discussed on three stages. They are archaic globalization, proto-globalization, modern globalization. We will see about one by one. First one is archaic globalization. It was during the Hellenistic age, early form globalization existed. It was known as archaic globalization. When commercialized urban centers were focused, wide range that stretched from India to Spain. Between the Roman Empire, Parthian Empire and the Han Dynasty made the commercial links between these paths inspired the development of the Silk Road. The Islamic Golden Age, the advent of the Mughal Empire, facilitated travel along the Silk Road. These pre-modern phase are known as archaic globalization. Next one is proto-globalization. This phase was characterized by the rise of maritime European empires like the Portuguese and Spanish empires and Dutch and the British empires. Globalization became private business phenomenon like British East India Company, that was first multinational company, and the first Dutch East India Company were established. Portuguese started establishing trade posts from Africa to Asia and Brazil. Next one is modern globalization. The 19th century globalization, it's a modern form. Multinational trade contracts and agreements have been signed, like the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, that is GATT, GATT. During post-war period, there has mostly been economic expansion which leads to stability. Technological changes have caused lower transporting costs. It takes just a few hours to transport goods between continents today. Next, we will move on. Trade and traders in South India historical perspective. Southern Indian trade guilds were formed by merchants in order to organize and expand their trading activities. Trade guilds become channels through which Indian culture was exported to other lands. South India trade was dominated by the Cholas and it replaced the Pallavas. We will see about the early traders, European traders in South India, the Portuguese, the Dutch in South India, then the British Company, the Danes, the French, that's all. We will see about one by one. First, the early traders. In the year 1053 AD, the Kalinga traders brought red-colored stone decorative objects for trade and also cotton textile to Southeast Asia at an early date. European traders in South India. This was due to the trading activities of the various European companies which came to India during this period. The discovery of a new sea route by Vasco da Gama had reaching effects. Reaching the effects, India's coastal and maritime trade was monopolized by the Europeans. The Portuguese. The Portuguese, under the leadership of Vasco da Gama, landed at Calicut on the 17th May 1498. Profits of goods brought by Vasco da Gama to Portugal were to 60 times cost of the entire expedition to India. The second trip of Vasco da Gama in 1502 led to establishment of trading station at Calicut, Cochin and Kannanur. Cochin was the capital. Next one, the Dutch. Dutch East India Company set up in 1602. They established factory at Masulipattnam and Petapoli, that is in Nizampatnam, Devanampatnam. Then Pulicat. Pulicat was the headquarters. Then they got Nagapatnam and Tanjore from the Portuguese. The British Company, UK. The East India Company was set up in 31st December 1600. They established at Masulipattnam and near Pulicat. The Sultan of Golconda granted the English the Golden Fireman in 1632, by which they were allowed to trade freely. In their kingdom, ports. In 1639, built a fortified factory in Madras which known as Fort St. George, which soon displaced Masulipattnam as headquarters. Danes. The Danes formed the East India Company and arrived in India in 1616. Tranquebar was the headquarters. Then they failed to strengthen themselves in 1845, left in India. Left from India. Then the French. The first French factory in India was established in 1668. Pondicherry was the headquarters. 1742, political motives began to overshadow the desire for commercial gain. Next one we will see about the globalization in India. In India, the period after 1980 to 1981 was marked by severe balance of payment difficulties, mainly due to hike in oil price and Gulf of War in 1990 to 91. When the new government took over in June 1991, India had an unprecedented balance of payment crisis. The finances was the central and the state government had reached the situation of near bankruptcy. With the downgrading of India's credit rating by some international agencies, there was heavy flight of capital out of India. Since India lost its credit worthiness in the international market, the government mortgaged 40 tons. Mortgaged in Tamil adamana வைக்கிறது 40 tons of gold to the Bank of England. Under these circumstances, the government for 1991-92 presented in its budget in July 1991 with a series of policy changes which underlined globalization, liberalization and privatization. This has come to be called as India's new economic policy. These policies were strengthened when India signed the Duncan Draft in 1994. Okay, the reforms made to adapt globalization, that is new economic policy in India. What is that? That is abolition of industrial licensing except for a few industries, then reduction in the number of industries reserved for public sector, then fixation of a realistic exchange rate of rupee to exchange exports of Indian goods, foreign private sector by making rupee convertible on trade on current account and by reducing import duties. Foreign exchanges regulations were suitably amended. The statutory liquidity ratio SLR was reduced to increase leading by RBI. Next one, multinational corporation MNC. Multinational corporation is a corporate organization which owns or controls productions of goods or services in at least one country other than its home country, otherwise called multinational corporations or transnational corporation TNC or multinational enterprises MNE. Okay, the evolution of MNC, like the East India Company, which came to India as a trading company and then it's a net throughout the country to become politically dominant. These multinationals first start their acting extractive industries or control raw materials in the host countries during 1920s and then slowly entered. Most of the MNCs at present belong to the four major exporting countries, that is USA, UK, France, Germany. However, the largest is American. 11 of the 15 largest multinationals are American. In 1971, the American corporations held 52% of the total world stock of foreign direct investment. Great Britain held 14.5%, followed by France 5% and Federal Republic of Germany 4.4% and Japan 2.7%. In 1969, the American multinationals alone produced approximately $140 billion worth of goods. Reasons for the growth MNC, that is expansion of market territory, marketing superiorities, financial superiorities, technological superiorities, then product innovations. Expansion of market territory. As the operations a large seized firm expand, it seeks more and more extension of its activities beyond the physical boundaries of the country in which it is incorporate. Marketing. Under the marketing, a multinational firm enjoys a number of marketing superiorities over the national firms. It enjoys market reputation and faces less difficulty in selling its products. It adopts more effective advertising and sales promotion techniques. Under the financial superiorities, it has financial resources and a high level of funds utilization. It has easier access of external capital markets. Because of its international reputation, it is able to raise more international resources. Technological superiorities. The main reason why MNCs have been encouraged by the underdeveloped countries to participate in their industrial development is on account of the technological superiorities which these firms possess as compared to national companies. Under product innovations, MNCs have research and development engaged in the task of developing new product and superior designs of existing product. What's the advantages and disadvantages? Advantages: investment of foreign capital, generation of employment, uses of advanced technology, growth of ancillary units, increase in exports and inflow of foreign exchange, then healthy competition. Disadvantages: least concern for priorities of host countries, adverse effect on domestic enterprises and a change in culture. Next one is fair trade practices and World Trade Organization. Fair trade. Fair trade is a way of doing business that ultimately aims to keep small farmers an active part of the world marketplace. Who beneficiaries of fair trade practices? They are consumer, trader or companies, producers. Consumer support enables fair trade organization to be advocates and comparing for wider reform of international trading rules. They can choose from an even growing range of great products. By buying fair trade labeled products, consumers support producers who are struggling to improve their lives. Trader, since its launch in 2002, the fair trade mark has become the most widely recognized social and development label in the world. Fair trade offers companies a credible way to ensure that their trade has a positive impact. Under the producers, stable prices that cover the cost of sustainable production, market access that enable buyers to trade with producers who would otherwise be excluded from market. Partnership, that is, producers are involved in decisions their future. Partnership, the empowerment of farmers and workers. What are the principles of fair trade organization? Create opportunities and sustainable development, develop transparent and accountable relationships, then build capacity, promote fair trade, then pay promptly and fairly, support safe and empowering working conditions, ensure the rights of children, then cultivate environmental stewardship. GATT, already we know about that. General Agreement of Trade and Tariffs. GATT's primary purpose was to increase international trade by reducing various tariffs, quotas and subsidies while maintaining meaningful relations. World Trade Organization WTO. 1994, an agreement to this effect was signed by 104 members. It came into force from January 1, 1995. Now the present memberships is 164 countries. Okay, the World Trade Organization, that is headquarter is Geneva, Switzerland. That is the purpose, regulation, international trade. Members of WTO, Director General, 4 Deputy Director General and other 600 official staff from around 80 member countries. The WTO mentions 5 types of subsidies: cash subsidies, tax concessions, assumption of risk, government procurement policies, then and stock purchases. What is the objectives of WTO? Managing the trade agreements, setting trade disputes, reviewing national trade policies, support developing countries in trade policy, solving issues through technical assistance, training programs, cooperating with other international organizations. Then one is to ensure full employment and broad increase in effective demand, that is ensuring full employment. TRIPS. Trade, that is TRIPS, trade related aspects of intellectual property rights. Under TRIPS, patent shall be available for any invention, whether product or process, in all fields of industrial technologies. TRIPS agreement covers 7 areas of intellectual property rights, that is copyrights, trademark, trade secret, industrial design, geographical appellations, integrated circuits and patents. Trade related investment measures. The Uruguay Round Agreement on TRIPS refers to certain conditions or restrictions imposed by a government in respect of foreign investment in the country in order to give adequate provisions for the home industries to develop. Impact and challenges of globalization. That is a positive impact and negative impact. Increased trade, greater choice of goods. A better economy introduced rapid development of the capital market. Standard of living has increased. Globalization rapidly increased better trade so that more people are employed. Introduced new technologies and new scientific research patterns. Globalization increasing the GDP of a country. It helps to increase in free flow of goods and also to increase foreign direct investment. Under the negative impact, too much of flow of capital amongst countries introduces unfair and immoral distributors of income. Another fear is losing national integrity. Because of too much of exchange of trade, independent domestic policies are lost. Rapid growth of economy has required a major infrastructure and resource extraction. This increase negative ecological and social costs. Rapid increases in exploitation of natural resources to earn foreign exchange. Environmental standards and regulations have been also relaxed. Okay, increased trade, that is a greater choice of goods, greater competitions, that is lower prices, economies of skill, that is more efficient production, increased capital and labor mobility, monopoly power of multinationals, structural unemployment from shifting sectors, tax avoidance easier. Challenges of globalization: shifting risk profile, regulatory obstacles, cultural differences, job insecurity and lack of skills, then shortage of resources. That is the challenges of globalization. Okay, thank you, ma. Take care.